of the jury? May be seated. Everybody has their correct notepads? Yes.
All right, welcome back, members of the jury. Hope you had a pleasant evening. Hope you've had a good morning so far. As I told you yesterday, we'll go through today. I know somebody has to leave 4:30-ish. We'll go through about that time. And I will give you a lunch break. Any other breaks, you let me know. Where we last left off, defense, your case in chief.
Thank you, Your Honor. We call Angelos Lelaglu.
You've already been sworn. Can you just introduce yourself to the jury?
Good morning. I'm Angelos Lelaglu, and spelled Angelosleiloglu.
Defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, is it okay if I just call you Angelos?
That's totally fine.
Okay. So I don't have to say Lelaglu.
That's right.
All right, thank you. All right. Could you tell us what you do for a living, please?
So I'm a 3D forensic analyst, and I consult on trial court cases.
How long have you been a 3D forensic analyst?
I've been doing it for about 2 decades now, 20 years.
Okay. Can you tell the members of the jury what you went to school for?
I went to school for architecture. My background is in architecture. I got a bachelor's from Texas A&M University, and then I went on and got a master's in architecture from Texas A&M University.
And with an architecture degree, what made you go into this 3D forensic world?
So a lot of the things that we learn and study in architecture, 3D modeling, design, anything from any kind of science, physics, and so forth, we learn, and we can apply that to this field of forensics. And I just met an engineer who is a testifying expert, safety engineer at A&M. He saw what I could do. He asked me to do some work for him, and I kind of changed paths.
Okay. Do you hold any professional affiliations or certifications?
I have certification in Axon Investigate, which is the people who make the body-worn cameras, how to look at the cameras, how to measure things on the camera as well.
Any others?
I've got a FAA certification to fly a drone commercially.
Okay. What about professional affiliations?
Sure, yeah, there's plenty of those. Member of National Association of Forensic Engineers. There's others on the list. There's some photogrammetry ones as well, and you can look on the list if you want.
And we don't have to go through them, but just for the jury to understand, have you written and been published in any scholarly articles on the subject that we're talking about?
Yes, I've published about 8 papers with National Association of Forensic Engineers, presented those to them as well as at conferences.
Moving next to the science behind what you do. Have you prepared a PowerPoint prior to today's hearing to help the jury to understand the science of 3D photogrammetry and how it might apply to a case like this in reconstructing a scene?
Yes, I have.
And would it assist these fine folks in understanding the spectrograph and the 3D photogrammetry and how you go about applying the science to the facts of an actual case?
I believe it would.
Okay. Are these reliable scientific principles?
Yes, these have been around for a long time, and there's peer-reviewed papers that go over this methodology as well.
Longer than 800 days?
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay. And then, did you have sufficient facts and data in this case?
I
in
did.
order to apply these reliable scientific methods.
Yes, I did.
Can we just tell the members of the jury what facts and data you had? What were you given in order to create your finished product?
So, sure, I received the digital evidence, which is the body-worn camera data, as well as photographs from the scene.
Okay. And then beyond the discovery that the government produced in this case, did you do your own examination as well?
I did.
Okay. So, Bayla, can we turn, is it on already?
It should be.
Okay. Judge, we'd ask to publish Angelos's PowerPoint for use as a demonstrative to assist the jury in understanding the science and how the science was applied to a scene recreation in this case.
Okay.
No objections, Your Honor, and this would be within 2026.
Wow, what's the next one? Yes, thank you, sir. Okay, Angelos, our first slide, photogrammetry. If you could please explain to the jury what that is.
Sure. So the thing I want to let y'all know that this is a science. It's not some kind of, you'll see some graphics, and you've all seen probably some kind of visualizations, depictions of scenes. But this is a science, so it's all based on math and some things called principles of perspective and also projective geometry, which we won't go into too much detail with that. But it is a science, and we're able to look at photographs and to measure things reliably and accurately. So that's what I want to start with.
And just so you and I square, when I, in my opening statement, called what you did wizardry, you told me, no, it's not wizardry, it's science, Tom.
That's correct, yeah. There's no magic, it's literally math, so it's either right or wrong.
Okay, can we go to the next slide? And this slide depicts what?
So here we're going to talk about, you probably don't know it, but you've seen photogrammetry. If you've watched anything on TV, maybe even the movies, if you've had any kind of medical imaging, things like that. And I just wanted to share with you that it's been used in many different fields. Obviously the medical field, military, the rover, Mars rover uses photogrammetry to be able to move around and look at things and model things. Engineering, obviously. Architecture, my background, and geology. Public safety is important. And in forensics. And the last one I want to talk to you about is something that if you're a sports fan, you've seen photogrammetry used behind the scenes, probably don't know it's there. But I want to show you how they use it. And mostly it's to show you that it's very, very accurate. So if you're a tennis fan, you might already know that the 4 Grand Slams right now no longer have any lines judge. It's all the photogrammetry that's making calls, whether it's in or out. And of course, it's got to do it to a very precise and accurate way so that the call's made accurately. You might not be old enough to remember John McEnroe, right? Throwing a fit about a call being out, and you can't be serious and all that. So there's a lot on the line, and it has to be accurate. Gang, you've got them measuring first downs like that. Also soccer, same thing. They're looking at goals. They're looking for offsides. They're trying to make the right call, and it's got to be accurate. And so I'll go ahead and play it now, and then I want to go back, and what I want you to pay attention to are some of the graphical notations that you'll see in the work that I will show you that we did in this case, that they use the same kind of thing, okay? And one more thing I wanted to add. So the idea here is that it's all done by having multiple cameras, which in this case we have 15 cameras from body-worn cameras, right? So we have different perspectives, allows you to see the same event. We can do that. We can look through each camera and triangulate and find points where someone's head is, where the gun is, where knees, legs are in the 3D space as they're happening, the events are happening. How they do it, and you'll see that they'll be able to track the athletes. We're able to track the actors in this case. And so I'll let it play once, and then I'll come back and kind of point out some things that I want you to keep in mind so they make sense later, if that's okay. So here we have a tennis match going on there. This is a technology called Hawkeye. You can look it up. You can see all the computers and the cameras around the whole stadium. And their accuracy is into within a couple millimeters, 2 to 3 millimeters of accuracy. Here, what they're doing is they're tracking basketball players, and that's called sports data. What they're trying to do is determine how long they've been running, do they need a break? They're trying to optimize their performance on the court. Here, as I mentioned, this is the new this year. It's been tested last year. They're measuring first downs without having someone to come out. Again, there's cameras all the way around these stadiums that are tracking these players. And here, again, soccer, they're tracking the motion of these players. And an important part in soccer, I know we don't really talk about soccer too much in the U.S., but offsides is a big deal. Players are trying to get an advantage and trying to leave that line early to score. And here this year it's going to be in New Jersey, I believe, the World Cup. Let me stop it right there real quick. This is something that you'll see. This is the 3D data that I'll be talking about. And if you remember from geometry, you probably remember there's an x-axis, a y-axis, and a z-axis. So in a 3D spot, we'll have some measurement. And that's what this software here is doing. It's measuring the x, y, z of limbs and joints. I'll let it go play some more. So here's the offsides call. It's all done through photogrammetry. This guy's ahead of the line means he is offsides. And here they're able to determine if the ball actually was a goal or not. It has to pass the entire plane to be a goal, and in this case it was not. Just real quick, I'm going to scrub through so you can see the notations or the graphical stuff. So here we see a skeleton. Let's go here. Sorry about that. So these are skeletons, and in the 3D world, that virtual world, you'll hear me say virtual or computer generated. That means done on the computer, okay? And so here we have skeletons which drive characters or animated characters that you'll see just like a human skeleton does. And they're tracking that here. Here you'll see on the ground there's 3D trackers. These are points of known dimension, so they can accurately determine the scale. So you'll see kind of these little stars or X's in my graphics as well.
If I could jump in just briefly there, Angelos. Reference within the scene with those three axes, we have the X, the Y, and the Z.
Yes.
For the
Z.
For
yes.
The 3D dimensions of every object in the scene. Are then subsequently able to take measurements of time and of speed and of distance inside of that 3D recreated model.
Yes, that's exactly what we do. Pull cameras all the way around the stadium. Here they're tracking the basketball players as they dribble. Again, they're measuring how far they've moved, so distance. And again, this is tracking individuals, bipeds we call them. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you with that to keep in mind for when you see my work.
Perspective of how long this hard science has been around.
Yes, so that's the thing. This is not something new. This is it's been around since about the Renaissance. Mathematicians and scientists and artists like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Alberti, and Albrecht Dürer are the main ones who developed this. And they were trying to actually things like an object that moves closer to the viewer or a camera appears to be bigger, and as they move back, they get smaller, right? I see you all nodding your head, so that's good. And then parallel lines vanish to a point on the horizon, right? So all parallel lines. And if you had an art class, you probably remember like a picture of like a railroad track, and then they're parallel lines, but eventually they'll meet. So those kind of things were being developed back then. And then they're also trying to understand how they can depict what they see in the 3D world onto a piece of paper or a piece of vellum back in those days, how they can draw it accurately and correctly. So that's what they were attempting to do.
Do you have a couple slides that the jury can view just to kind of give a
I
visual
do.
depiction of that in history?
Yes. So here's the technology from back then. Of course, we'll be talking the technology we have nowadays to be able to do this. But these are depictions of what they called it's an engraving. If you look at it, you can see there's an apprentice standing up there pointing to a specific spot on this instrument. There is a door, a swinging door here with a piece of parchment or something, which he'll then close. This is a sight line, so you'll see a lot of sight lines in my work. There's a line coming through here, and this is Alberti, and he is, Drewer, and he is sighting that point. And when they close this, he's able to plot that point back there. I don't know where it is, but somewhere over here. So that now he has a 3D projection of that instrument. Okay. The next slide is something to show you. I know it's a little bit maybe complex, but it's pretty simple if you think about it. So what I want you to understand is that we live in a 3D world, right? That's represented by the box in the front here, this cube, with points A, B, and C, and D, capital letters, known points, so we know the actual dimensions of this box. Then we have a two-dimensional world, which is represented by this easel here with a piece of vellum or film on it. And then we have a viewer. This is the focal point of his eye. In today's world, we're talking about a sensor or a camera. And the correlation is what I want you to see is that there's these points, capital letters, as they project back to his eye. This projection plane or picture plane, you might call it. And so when you do that for all these points, you can see they converge right into his eye. Okay, and again, they were trying to determine how to draw something in 2 dimensions that they actually see in 3 dimensions. Here, this slide is just to represent what we do. So I told you that I was provided with video, body-worn camera. I was provided with scene photographs. Those are all dimensional. We see them on a screen. They're not 3-dimensional. And so what we try to do is take that 2D image and now put it back into 3 dimensions. So we're projecting it back out into 3 dimensions so that we can later measure things. Okay? And that's what this is. It's called reverse projection. So it's the exact opposite of what they were doing in the 1400s. Now we're trying to reconstruct what happened in this case. So I'll play through here. Actually, right there. Now we take a photograph of it right there. And so we have the 3 parts. We have the 3-dimensional world, the 2-dimensional world, and then where the camera is. But when we get these cases, we no longer know where the camera is. Unless it's a surveillance camera that stays put, we have to check if it is. But these are moving cameras, so they have a lot of different places where they are. So what we need to do is have a base data that tells us what the dimensions of this scene, this is our scene. So we have X, Y, Z of this scene, and then we can do it for many points, or sorry, pass through the 2-dimensional image, the digital image that I was provided with, and project lines all the way through. And if you do it with enough points, once again, you'll you'll determine where that camera is in 3D space when that camera took that exact photograph. Okay, and we can do that very accurately with technology. So. And the last thing I want to show you here is to assess how well the camera was solved. In other words, that position where we determined it was, we can then look through that camera. In this case, we're going to look through it virtually on the computer, a digital version of that camera that has the same position, orientation, which way it's pointed, and also something called lens distortion, and we can talk about that a little later. Okay, but the way to do that, the best, see if the things that were there match up with the things that are now in the view of the camera. Okay.
And so moving next to its application, things like lawyers wanting to know and ask you questions, that gives us the scientific paradigm to be able to maybe just address your next slide, which is once we recreate it,
Right.
we can measure it.
Yeah, the whole purpose of this is to reconstruct the scene as it was that at the time of the event, and then we're going to visualize it, be able to see it, look around it, do whatever we want with it. It's a digital model it can be considered a digital twin, meaning it's the real world scene. It's an exact copy. You can, if you went to the scene and measured something, it would be the same as measuring it in our 3D model. Okay, and then we're going to measure things, and then we're going to analyze what we measure.
Do you have just a sort of a relatable real world example for the jury?
Yes. So here's a photograph. Some of you might recognize it. This is from 1963, the JFK assassination. And you can see here that a individual here, I believe Miss Clausen, has taken a photograph, and I have a copy of it here for you to see. This was shortly after the headshot. Okay. And she's out in the middle of Elm Street, and she's trying to determine where that photograph was taken. So she's holding the print kind of in front of her this way, and she's matching it with the actual background, okay, with the actual scene in Dealey Plaza. So this is modern Dealey Plaza, okay? And so I want you to imagine that as we're looking through that and we're lining it up, so it's right, this picture plane, remember, like we saw in the box example. My eye is the camera, and we have the picture plane here, and then behind me is the 3D scene. And I'm trying to match it exactly so that later I might get, some of these, there's some tourists back here in the background. I might ask one of them to go walk up behind my picture and kind of line them up. And if you can imagine, it was printed on a piece of film so that I could actually see through it, but still see the objects, which is exactly what we do in the digital world. I could get them and match them very accurately, or pretty accurately, even though I'm just using, my hands and basic stuff here. But I want you to think about that, and that's what we're doing digitally. We're literally solving where the camera is, like she is. She's moving in the street and saying, here's where the camera was. So we solve for the camera. Then we look through the camera, but we put a piece of film over the camera so that we can see what was there, and then we can take objects in the 3D world and move them so they match up with the person, the object that we're trying to reconstruct. So that's the basic, that's what I do all day, okay?
So, Angelos, I think at this point the jury knows that you have seen photos. If you want to go to your next slide.
Sure.
And you have body-worn camera from the scene, but did you do any examination, or did you collect any data yourself?
Yes. And that's as I said, this is rudimentary, kind of doing this by hand. We have technology nowadays that can allow us to do this very accurately, and it's called LiDAR. It can also be called high definition 3D laser scanning. You might have seen people on the side of the road. It kind of looks like I'll show you a picture of it here. This is
That's you.
This is me years ago in Dealey Plaza. What you see there is a Faro scanner. It's a Leica. In this case, it's just a different brand. This is a Faro. There's also a Trimble, which is what I used in this case. And what it does is it goes around and it fires a laser, okay? And it can measure how far a point is that it hits. And so all these points that you see around here are all actually it's called a point cloud. The more it looks more like a photograph, but they're literally points that I can click on and measure one point to another and get a dimension or a distance.
So the jury can wrap their minds around it. How many points per second does your machine, the Trimble machine, collect?
They're all about the same, probably about 1 million. Some can even do 2 million points a second. And the points are actually accurate to within just a couple of millimeters. And for reference, a credit card is a little less than 1 millimeter. So, say the scans are accurate to within probably 2 to 3 credit cards stacked is the distance of accuracy.
And the Leica machine, which the jury's heard about, is capable of that type of measurement.
Yes, it is.
Whether the day of, or 100 days later, or 800 days later, it's capable of that type of measurement.
Yes.
Did you review any product or measurement done by the government in this case?
There was a diagram with some measurements on it, but nothing. Diagram, it says not to scale.
Okay. Moving to your next slide, did the members of the jury see your machine and its application?
Yes, so this is inside the actual apartment, but now she's no longer there. Obviously, there's a new owner. Renter.
Yeah.
And so this is what it looks like. It's on a tripod. It spins around, and you move it around from place to place because it's a line of sight thing. If it can't see it, it can't measure it. So we have to move it around the site to get a full picture of the apartment itself.
Would you characterize, I'm going to call it volume, but the size of this scene as a large, medium, or small scene to measure?
It's very small. I'll show you right here. This is a top view, overview of the 6 scans. I only took 6 scans, and just to give you an idea, this is 200 million points that you'll see. In most cases, I'll probably do like 40 scans, but I could do what I needed to do here with just 6 scans. This is the product you get when you use a scanner. You've got a 3-dimensional model that you'll see as I play it. Those blue points are where I placed the scanner. These are just icons that show you where the scanner was placed. It also does take photographs, and it uses those photographs to colorize or make the points a certain color so you can visualize it better. And it does a 360 basically. So this is the back porch area. And these are all points, 200 million points that can be measured. And the idea is, it used to be you'd go to a site and you'd measure something with a tape measure or a wheel, maybe a disto or something. But now you might miss something, right? You might not know what to measure. Investigators often will miss stuff, have to go back out. Here, you're basically trying to capture as much as you can, everything you can, and then you can go back to your office and literally measure anything you want.
So it's fair to say you have to collect all the dots so that later you can connect the dots.
That's right, yes.
Thank you.
As you can see, the furniture is different than what was at the time of the event, so that's why we're going to need to reconstruct using photogrammetry what was inside the apartment and in the patio area to then analyze or measure things and then analyze.
So I guess to continue to set the scene, did you incorporate some overall views of just the apartment building? Again, there we go.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Just to give you an idea of, I don't know if you've seen kind of a map of what's going on. This is building 3. This is Google Earth. And I wanted to show you where this event is happening by placing the point cloud that we collected at the site inspection so that you can see what part of that building all these events happen. So there's the apartment. And then so you can see it a little more closely the actual scan. So this is the same product that we were just looking at. It's just viewed in a different program. Now we're able to move around it. It's like a digital twin. I can measure anything. I can look at it from the top. I can take the ceiling off so I can look inside of it. And again, as I mentioned, I've removed all the furniture that was there during my inspection because it wasn't the furniture, obviously, that was there at the time of the event. and now we'll reconstruct that using this base with all the data that we need. If you think back to the first example with the A, B, C, D, we have to have some points so that we can determine where the cameras are. And then again, when we look through that camera, I can reconstruct the objects that we see in the view.
So once we have the model of the scene built, are you able to integrate sound through a spectrograph into the 3D recreation?
Yes. So the other evidence we had was body-worn cameras, and I've got to prep these videos so that I can use them, right? So I've got to synchronize them because, let's do this. Yeah. First I want to identify where the shots are, and that's all in the audio, okay? And we'll talk about that here in a second. This is the audio from the body-worn cameras. This is Thompson's camera, Officer Thompson's camera. It was the clearest, most distinct one that out of the 15. And I'm able to identify when a shot happened to milliseconds, just so I can use that to synchronize the different cameras. So these cameras, the body-worn cameras, are not synced to each other. They can be off. So I need to make sure they're all happening at the same time so that when we're looking through each camera, the same event is happening. So we're looking for things called cues. So a cue might be a gunshot, a muzzle flash. So muzzle flash is when you see fire kind of coming out as the gunpowder is igniting, or leftover gunpowder is igniting. And we can see that sometimes, or we can see maybe some recoil, or we can see a light turning on and off, like a taser light. And those are the cues that we're going to look at in a second. But I wanted to show you this because this is the audio from Thompson's a video, body-worn camera. And if you look at the top, you might have, the green part here, you've probably seen this before. It's called a waveform, and it's just the audio. And it's got two dimensions. It's got time in the x-axis, and in the y-axis, that's amplitude, or how loud something is. So you can hear a gunshot, and it'll make a big wave, and then you can hear, a glass breaking. You'll see that, but you can't really determine gunshot when it's glass, when it's a boot hitting a door, or so forth. And below that, in the colored area, this is called a spectrogram, and it has one extra dimension, which is frequency. And so as you can look at it, you'll see that there's these distinct patterns going on. And a gunshot, if you look at a gunshot in the spectrogram, you'll see that it's a very loud noise, but it actually fills the whole spectrum of frequencies, so from low to high. And it's just basically you can visually determine exactly where a gunshot has occurred. So, and then you can count them, and this way you'll know which shot was fired first and in order, and you could measure the timing if it was important. So this way we're able to determine who shot when and measure between those. Okay. As you've heard throughout the trial, in my work, when I show you it, we're going to probably split it up into first volley, second and third volley, okay?
Read my mind. Thank you. So moving next, Angelos, to you said you have to synchronize all the different body cameras, right? You have to harmonize all the data together to help you in this analysis. Could you, thank you, show the visual and explain that to the members of the jury?
Yes, so as I explained a little earlier, we're looking to get all these cameras happening, taking images at the same time. So we're looking for cues. Here's an example of when Sergeant Flores fires, you can see a muzzle flash right up here. Right up here. You can see his same muzzle flash here. It's over here. So those are all giving us. The next slide shows we can synchronize again when a light turns on and off, and I'll just hit play, and you'll be able to look at the different cameras yourself and see, does the light go off at the same time? Does it turn on? And you see the light turning on and off by what it's hitting, like the surface of the window or the surface of the door. And then finally, here's the finished synchronization. I don't know if you want to watch it or it's too loud.
Honestly, I think they get it.
Okay.
So, because I want to show the members of the jury like something new, right? This
Sure.
is something new, and honestly, it's fascinating. So, once you have synchronized all your videos, you start to create reference points within the 3D world.
Photogrammetry, how it's applied to this is it's called something called match moving. Go a step back. There's camera matching, which is what we've talked about doing in Dealey Plaza. You're matching one camera; it's stationary at that point. But when we talk about video, it's called match moving because you're matching the movement of the camera. So in order to do that, we have to track those points that you saw in the example of the sports, the tennis court and so forth. So here I've identified video, and they're points that are static. In other words, they never move, or they haven't moved since the time of the event. The trim, there's trim, what is it called, siding that have corners and so forth. There's corners on the door, and we're going to end up tracking those and be able to determine the 3D position of each one of those points. Oh, let me play that. Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
one more.
Yeah.
So applying the 3D axes, right? The X, Y, and the Z.
Right. Yeah, this is called constraining. So just like that box in the first example at the beginning, we need to know what the X, Y, Z coordinates for those points are. That allows the software to do the calculation so that when it projects it back to determine where the camera is, it has the right information. So we're getting these are just a sample of points that I'm using in the analysis, but it's coming from the very highly accurate 3D scan, the LiDAR that we acquired.
Thank you. Next slide. Applying to.
So now we've identified them, and now they're being tracked through a sequence of frames through the body-worn camera. And you can see these points in 3D space. And now they've been solved, right? So we know where they are in 3D space. Now I'm going through some of the other cameras. This is Sergeant Flores' camera. Officer Alejandro's. And again, if you remember the tennis example, these are points being tracked. And this is Officer Villalobos. And it's starting over.
Your roughly 200 million point cloud into the rendering.
Yes, so as I said earlier, the way to assess if the solution, or it's called the calibration of the camera, meaning where the camera has been solved, the position, the way to assess that is visually, the main way, because the things are correct and things will line up, just like we saw in that example at the very beginning. So I'll play that so you can see, and what you'll be seeing is the body-worn camera, and then I'll be kind of sliding in, or not sliding, but revealing the point cloud. And you can start to see how this is Salinas' camera. So for example, let me go to sorry. So for example, we can see that we're looking through the camera at this point, this frame, and we can see the actual image. So we can see Officer Alejandro right there. We can see the point cloud, and I've just split the screen to show the actual body worn camera. And over here we can see the point cloud, and you can see how, for example, the railing, see how it matches there, windows and so forth. And that's really how we assess it. There's a couple more here just to show you the different cameras. And then, so we're assessing it visually, and you can see if things are on or off, or matched well. And then the software itself will actually give you a report of the analysis, whether it's good or not. And so it's going to measure an error. We have two types of error. We have the two-dimensional error, which is over here. This is it's stating that it's about almost 1.5 horizontal pixels. So in the 2D space, that's the error there. And the error here is negligible. It's very, very low. These are the three-dimensional points. So what we're looking at here is the constraints. Remember those X, Y, Z that I took from the point cloud, told the software this two-dimensional point should be this point in 3D space. And these are those right there. And here are the solved positions, and it's measuring what the difference is between those. Okay, so very, very low error in the calibration of the cameras.
Yep, and then I think just keep going on building your model.
So again, as I mentioned earlier, we have to reconstruct what was in the patio and what was in the living room as well. And we do that again through photogrammetry, but this time it's not a moving camera. They're photographs that were taken of the scene. Oops, sorry. And again, we visually can. Yes.
Is there anything?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Other note here.
Okay.
Keep going.
And I was just saying that this again, you can measure the accuracy of the solution. But we can also see it visually here. When I bring up the image, you can see how it matches the background. So here we can see the couch, we can see the TV set. Things that we can even see bullet impacts and defects. Right there. And then from there, now that we have all those pieces, now we can reconstruct and create a visualization of the model to show kind of what it looks like in 3D.
So next up comes, I guess, building the skeleton.
Yes. So now once we've got the 3D scene to position people and reconstruct their movements and the events during the shooting. So in order to do that, we need bipeds. They're characters or actors, you might call them. These are CG, meaning virtual, digital people that have skeletons like you saw earlier, and we're able to move them and pose them in the scene as we look through cameras to determine where they are in that frame or at that specific time when we're looking through the camera. So characters here, and here's just kind of a screen grab of the work that's done as we're trying to position, for example, here Mrs. Perez when she starts her charge. Here on the left, we're looking through the camera, and I'll point out right here real quick. Right here, we're seeing the image looks a little different than what you've normally seen. It looks a little different. That's because it's been corrected a little later, but in order to do this accurately, we have to correct for lens distortion, because we see without lens distortion. We don't look around and see, a straight line that's curved. And in this case, in the body-worn camera, hopefully you've noticed that by now, things are curved that shouldn't be curved. So as part of the calibration, like I said, it solves for that lens distortion and corrects it. So now we can start to match objects accurately. So I'll go ahead and play this. And that, you can't see it right now, but there's a skeleton inside which allows those limbs to be moved. She's able to be moved in 3D space. Oh, here's a skeleton of it. And you may not have noticed, but the picture on the left, this body-worn camera has changed. So we're using triangulation. We're looking through other cameras of the same event happening at the same time, and we're able to see her head in one view and her head in another view, and triangulate to pinpoint where that head is in 3D space. And then we'll again assess it, see how well it does that matching, and so we can look at it from, this is a split view, 6-view camera or display of the cameras, and we can look. What's happening here is the CG version, and what's happening here is the actual raw footage from the body-worn camera, and you can look and see how well they're matching up. And of course, you probably figured this out. If you can see her on top of her image in the body-worn camera, it's matched correctly, if that makes sense. And then we're looking through different cameras. For example, look down here, you'll see her head pop out. Her head, you'll see it back here. Here we go. You see her right, it's hard to stop, right there. Okay, so that's how we do the triangulation. So we're able to assess the quality of the match there. And here's another one. This is during the first volley. Okay.
So, before we get going, what's that small number down in the lower right-hand corner? Because that's significant.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
1472. So they've been saying 2 minutes and 2 seconds to tell you what body-worn camera you're on. We do it looking at frame numbers. So that's just an arbitrary number where we started the beginning of the frame, beginning of the body-worn camera, and so we can communicate this happens on this frame instead of looking at a time, because the time isn't as precise.
The way this analysis is going to go, when Dr. Martinelli testifies after you, your measurements on time, distance, speed are based on those frame measurements within the 3D recreation.
Right. You'll hear us reference a certain frame number for something that Dr. Martinelli wants to discuss.
Thank you.
Yeah. Here we have, oops, sorry. Her motion, and we can view it. Again, this is a 3D model. We can view it from any angle. We're looking at it from a couple different perspectives here, and we can visualize her motion. Okay. And now that we have her motion, we have where she is in XYZ space in the apartment. We're then able to measure speed by knowing the time that she traveled and the distance she's traveled. So we have distance over time equals speed, and we can chart that out and determine at what point she's running, at any point how fast she's moving. Okay.
Well, just to go back, speed around, what is this, 1495?
Yeah.
We see the feet per second on the left.
Yes, feet per second. We're talking about feet per second, and I need to find it here.
Well, we don't have to
Give
do
me
the
one
exact
second.
number right now.
Okay. I believe.
Look at the chart and you can give me a rough figure. It's up around 10 feet per second.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Actually, yeah. Just looking at that, you can see it's, and just so you know, this is a smoothed average. So we're looking at this green line. Actually, it's between the high and low. So it's a little over 10 feet per second at her quickest.
And so now that we know we're measuring in frames, we can go back and we can motion match that into the actual body weight.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so can you explain the significance of this slide here?
Right. Just like we matched the motion of Mrs. Perez, we can also match the positions, and you saw some of it in that slide earlier. Match the positions of the officers.
And the colors, the significance of the colors of the skeletons here, does that become thematic in matching the the sound measurements for the gunshots across the 3 volleys for the 3 officers into the video?
Yes, it's just the same color coding, so we can keep track of who's who.
So I think next we go to a 3D rendering.
Yeah, so this is, again, we just matched the positions, the motions of Mrs. Perez, basically all the actors, including the officers. And this is going to be the first volley. Actually, this might be the whole animation. So just real quick, you'll see a blue outline over the officer who is shooting at the time, kind of flash. I also wanted to point out, so whenever the Mrs. Perez kind of disappears, it's motion that we have not calculated. So this is when she's returning back to the hallway. Okay, play it one more time maybe. And as I mentioned, we can measure anything we want. So here are the measurements. During the first volley. And I just wanted to point out, because it can look a little confusing, these are, the yellow lines are literally just distance. They look like trajectories, but that's not where they're firing. Those are actually just so you don't get confused. This is the second volley. Measuring to the door.
Let's go ahead and take a short break.
All right, for the jury. You may be seated.
How are you on power?
Good question. $65. Fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be
may be seated.
Welcome back, members. Defense?
Thanks, Judge. Angelos, we left off at the second volley.
Yes.
I guess frame 1524, I know that to be a frame of significance that we're going to talk about later with Dr. Martinelli and Surgeon Flores, but just to sort of transition back to our watching the videos, as the members of the jury can see, we have speed calculations where they can see how many feet per second Melissa Perez is traveling with each frame, and then you've just broken it into the three volleys. So you want to hit play on the second volley?
Sure. I think that's it.
That's it right there. Just can you pause it there for a second?
Yes.
So 2 feet, I mean,
Is it 2 feet?
Yes, a little over.
Where's the hammer?
we see Melissa Perez with the hammer and the striking on 2 feet here. This is 2 feet. Ollie?
I do. Second volley, sorry.
Okay, let's move next and let's talk about when we're talking about Axon body-worn cameras. Do you have some slides prepared to illustrate the difference between 50mm naked eye and the Axon body camera lens?
Yes. So, first of all, these body-worn cameras made by Exxon, but other ones as well, they're designed to do a wide angle. Sometimes it's called a fisheye or fisheye lens, and that's done on purpose so they can document and see more of the scene and be able to analyze it better. And this particular model has about a 143-degree field of view, which is in contrast to what the human field of view is. A lot more, almost 100 degrees more, 50 on each side. The human field of view, in general, is in the research and the literature shows this, that a 50mm lens, we're talking about a camera lens, a 50mm lens, is the most approximate comparison to the actual eye. So, if you were to take a 50mm lens and take a photograph, and you're going to look, off to the side, you're going to see the same sizes, scales, and distances. Okay, what happens with an Axon body-worn camera? It distorts it, and here's an example. Here's just a frame from Officer Villalobos's. It looks like his body-worn camera, and you can see, and you're kind of oblivious to it, but you can see there's distortion. Things that should be straight, like vertical things like the door, windows, you can see some curvature to them. That's called barrel distortion, and it's a result of the lens quality, the defects in it as well, and just that it's a fisheye lens. So that's where that comes into place, and that affects what you see and perceive, because it makes things look further away than they should. Pointing it out to you, things that should be straight appear to be curved, like the railing as well.
Okay, so moving ahead, I think 2 slides, we're going to see an actual application. So I'm going to say, no questions for a moment. Let's just let the members of the jury soak this slide in. I mean, really significant, right? The difference between what the human eye sees to the spatial distortion that starts to happen with that fisheye lens. Does it get more and more pronounced the farther away the subject in the frame is?
I'd say so, yes.
Can you go to the next slide, please? So on the right side of the frame, we see that, you know, that Axon logo stamp built into that photo. This is a direct comparison of this mock suspect at that range between the human eye and the body camera lens.
Yes, so on the left you're seeing through a 50 millimeter lens, which is equivalent to what the human eye perceives, and on the right is from the body-worn camera.
Okay. So really significant, right? If we're trying to determine how far away a threat is from what the officers are perceiving, now that we have built your 3D model, now that we understand the disparity between the body cameras, are you able to account for that in your POVs or point of visions?
Yes.
Could you demonstrate that for the jury and explain that, please?
So because we've matched the positions of the officers who are wearing the body-worn cameras, you'll see that the software itself puts like a 3D model of where the camera is. That's the exact position that the camera is that Sergeant Flores is wearing at that time. Right here, what we see. And then what we're able to do is, like I said, we can view our 3D model from anywhere, looking through a virtual camera. So we can position a virtual camera or attach it to where the officer or the character that we're going to be using, where their eyes are. So, and we can tell that camera to be a 50 millimeter full frame camera, which is again equivalent to what a human would see. And this is, we do this all the time in visualization. You can read it in papers and stuff. So now we can look through that camera to get an idea of what that officer would see.
Okay, so first we're going to see, where are you? Here he is, Officer Alejandro's POV.
POV at the first volley. Actually, it'll show both volleys. Oh, sorry. And this is the second volley. One more time.
On the first volley, yeah, could you scrub on the frames to when Melissa Perez has that hammer in the launching position but it hasn't come forward yet? Back a little bit. Right there. So this, using your expertise, all of the aforementioned science, is a rendering of what Officer Alejandro actually saw when he's making his forced decision on the night in question.
Yes.
Could we go next to Sergeant Flores? POV, please.
Here, I just want to show you.
Thanks. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, it's a comparison between what's seen on his body-worn camera versus what the virtual camera that we're looking through sees. Let's go through if you want.
Can I just ask you,
Yeah.
Angelos, the data acquisition, the data processing, data assembly, to give the members of the jury a perspective like this, how many hours do you think this took?
Oh, somewhere around 300, maybe more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not 6 or 12
No.
or some number like that?
So just to give you an idea, looking through the video, obviously watching it once, twice, that's about 20 hours of watching it or more. But when I'm doing the tracking, I'm looking at every single frame, back, forth, scrubbing through to look and see what I'm visualizing, to track things. So we have the advantage of really seeing this thing frame by frame over and over and over again.
Thank you. Do you have a point of vision for the next officer,
Yes.
Sergeant Flores?
Next.
Yeah, next, please, thank you.
Here's
This is the overlay, so the members of the jury have seen this a bunch. We have his body camera on the left and his true POV on the right. I think 1524. This is the gun recoiling on the right. And just to kind of create, because you and I are almost done here, the bridge to the second ingredient of this analysis, Dr. Martinelli, he's going to apply force science, that physiology of the human body, and the steps and the reaction a person in a life threat situation takes to the frames that you have rendered to be able
Two more,
actually two more, I'm
Yes.
sorry. And then do you have the side-by-side for Villalobos as well?
Yes.
And then the last POV, you're able to take all this data and all this science, and you're actually able to recreate a POV for Melissa Perez as well.
Yes. Same thing. We're
side by side?
And this will be a side. There's no body worn camera for obviously Melissa Perez, so it's a side by side with Sergeant Flores' POV.
This fact pattern recreation, can you talk a little bit about your margin of error rates initially with measurement and things? Is to a degree of I guess let's talk a little bit about how you were retained for this case. Your present employment.
Lloyd, my company.
Okay. And your company frequently consults with Dr. Martinelli?
Yes.
Okay. And you were retained in this case to create for this jury to actually see this product?
Yes.
Okay, but we heard that, you know, Butch worked for free in this case. Have you been, or are you going to be compensated for your hours and your work in this case?
Yes, I will.
By who?
By Cleat.
Cleat, right? The what's the acronym? Thank you, Lisa. Judge F has to witness.
We don't have any questions.
We don't have any questions.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And just so make sure that you heard that, CLEAT is the Combined Law Enforcement Association of Texas. That's who's paying?
Yes.
So, thank you, sir. Can I ask, and I probably missed in my notes, how long ago were you retained to work on this?
I think officially maybe a year ago. I don't remember. Maybe more
Retained up to 12 months ago.
or more. I can't remember.
Okay. And when did you go to the apartment and get the measurements with your LIDAR?
LIDAR. Yes. That was. That would have been September 28th of last year, 2024.
September of 2024. And once you took the measurements, when did you start the process of doing all the calculations and everything, the first half of your done? You had to input it all into some software, I'm guessing, correct?
Yes.
And it churns through to produce that chart with the measurements and the XYZ axis and the error rates, correct?
No. Well, I'm not sure what you're asking. Explain that one more time.
Okay, hang on a minute. I'm looking at your charts. Chart number 3. That's a slide.
Yes,
number
sir.
38.
38. Oh, yes.
Okay, now the way I understand that, put it up on the screen.
Oops. Sorry. Not coming up. I'll go this way. Oh. This.
Okay. And so what I understood, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is the chart that when you determined the tracker, that column is just your known points,
Yes.
okay? And then you developed where those known points are on the X, Y, and Z axes, correct?
The software did,
The
yes.
software, okay. And then at the far right-hand column, it determined the rates of error. I believe, I recall you testified overall very low rates of error.
Yes.
So my question from getting your computations in September of 2024, when did the software develop that data?
When I did the photogrammetry.
Okay, and when, all right, so from September of 20, did you complete the photogrammetry?
Since then, it's actually probably been in the last month or so.
Okay, so September 24 through, and then you completed the photogrammetry, let's just say October of 2025, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was the software churning along that entire 11 months, or that's when you were able to get to it with your other commitments?
That's correct. Yes.
With the latter part?
Yes, latter.
Okay. And when did you finally complete everything that went into the PowerPoint that you showed the jury here today? Because we didn't receive it until late yesterday afternoon.
Right. Yeah, completed it. I mean, working up to the last minute. So,
Define last minute, please.
like 2 days ago.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, did you perform, and does the software have the ability calculate trajectory testing for each individual shot?
No.
Is there anything in the science that would allow you to do that?
Explain that. What do you mean by in the science?
Okay, within the field, is it an additional software program that could do that? Is it one you don't have, one you have or you chose not to use in this case?
Well, I'm not actually trained in doing trajectories. I can connect dots, so I can project where two dots go. You know,
Right.
two dots define a line.
Okay. Aside from the PowerPoint you've presented to the jury, and that will support Mr. Martinelli later, did you produce a written report?
I did not.
Did you reference any additional readings or documentation to support the production of this PowerPoint presentation you've led the jury through?
Sure, parts of them, like the study of the body-worn camera versus human.
All right. Do you have that study with you today?
I don't know the citations on the slide.
Those are the footnotes, but you don't have the actual study with you.
I don't.
Did
No.
you provide the study to the counsel that retained you?
I believe I did.
You know, I'm just would like to see the study that underlines what the witnesses testified to.
Sure.
It's in your email.
Just a moment, Your Honor, I've just received it. Thanks, sir. So that would be the critical incident review, body worn cameras. I approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Show me what I've just received from counsel. And is this the outside literature and reading you're
Yes.
referring to?
Looks like it, yes.
Okay. And this is a study, critical review on discrepancies between Axon body-worn cameras and what the human eye observes. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And you have portions of that incorporated in your PowerPoint 65 and 66. Can you go to those, please?
Sorry.
Okay. And as I understand this, the left-hand side shows what the human eye would see on a actor at about approximately 12 feet, correct?
Yes.
And the top right, if an officer were wearing his body-worn camera on his shoulder, that's what the camera would capture. And if it's on his chest, looks like it would be further away from the body-worn camera. That's the point of this, correct?
Actually, no. You're right about the human eye. This version of the Axon has a chest camera and a shoulder camera, so they're two different cameras.
All right, but you'd agree, as it appears, the shoulder camera visually appears to be closer than the chest camera.
That's correct.
Okay. But the operative distance in this article went on to examine it 20 feet, 30 feet further out.
Something like that, yes.
And if I recall, the furthest distance that Ms. Perez would have been, you measured on the diagonal at about 16, and you calculated she was moving towards either the window or the door at a rate you calculated. So she would be inside, approaching or inside that 12-foot, kind of aligned more with the human eye. You'd agree then, wouldn't you?
I'm sorry, you said a lot there. Repeat that, please.
Okay, well, again, I think you said you agreed that the human eye is approximately 12 feet from the camera lens, and that shows what a 50 millimeter human eye. That's the image that you see.
Right. It's a camera representing where the human eye, yes.
Okay. And I think it is chart 70 that shows Officer Alejandro's
Oh,
slide 70. Chart slide, I'm sorry, use it interchangeably.
sorry.
Okay. And from the body-worn camera, shows a time stamp at 2:02:06, correct?
Yes.
And off the body-worn camera, Ms. Perez's body appears to be partially hidden by the object we know to be the television in front of the window, correct?
Correct.
And from the article you looked at, does that seem to suggest he's wearing the body cam over his pocket or his center chest? I would think it looks to be a pocket, it's off center, correct?
I'm not sure.
All
I
right.
can't tell you that right now.
But you made a correction
I've placed a camera where her eyes or where his eyes were at the same time that in the body worn camera.
All right, and that's what his eyes would see. And I take you at your word. Now, were you able to calculate how far away Melissa Perez is at that time, 2:02:06? How far is she from the wall?
Yes.
And what was that distance?
We could look at it.
Please.
It's frame 1304.
Yes, sir.
Oh, let's see. Volley. Oh, it's not coming up. Sorry, I'll have to go back. There we go. Oh, actually, this is. Here we go.
So at the window, she's 7.9 feet.
Actually, I don't know if I have. Let me see if I have that measurement here. We didn't chart that out because we were looking at when Officer Alejandro fires his first shot.
Okay.
So let me see if.
Could you have charted that distance if you'd been instructed to?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, and if you could, play up to the first shot.
Yes.
Okay. And at that distance, 7.9 feet at the first shot. That's what your chart tells us, correct?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that the visual point you showed, she was some distance further back from the window, correct?
Yes.
We just don't know it because you didn't calculate it, correct?
That I know of. Yes.
And when the hammer hits the window, you measure 6.5 feet. That would be 6 feet 6 inches, correct?
Correct.
This jury's heard be right or wrong based on what you calculated.
Judge, I have an objection from the question. The testimony was that the hammer was less than 5 feet from the back of Alfred Flores' head. This diagram shows that the distance to the back front of the witness's face is 6.5 feet, so it's a misstatement of the evidence.
All right, so you can ask your question. You can ask your question again. You can ask.
I've already asked the judge.
Can you ask it one more time, please?
Madam Court Reporter, could you read that back, please?
Question. Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, yes, that's correct. Excuse me. Question. This jury has heard testimony that the distance is less than 6 feet. Would that testimony be right or wrong based on what you calculated?
I'm going to object. It's argumentative and improper hypothetical.
Can Your Honor, the question,
Okay.
court is already ordered. I can ask the question. I'd like to get my answer.
I'll overrule, yeah.
Please.
Can you ask your question so I understand what you said? The jury. Well, don't laugh. Saying the jury. I wasn't here. I didn't hear what the jury has heard.
Okay.
So what did the jury hear as far as the dimension you're talking about?
All right. This jury has heard questions and elicited testimony that suggests at the point in time or the distance when the hammer hits the glass, the distance to Sergeant Flores was less than 6 feet. I'm asking you, based on your known data and calculations, at the minimal error rate, would that testimony, that question, that suggestion, would it be right or wrong?
What I can tell you is that at this point, her chest to the body worn camera, that's the body worn camera of Sergeant Flores, is 6.5 feet.
And so it is not less than 6 feet, is it, sir?
Well, it depends what.
6.5 feet would be 6 feet 6 inches,
Sure.
correct?
Can I answer?
Please answer that last one. 6.5, that's 6.5, would be 6 feet 6 inches, isn't it?
Well, let me answer. Let me answer
Sir,
this.
please answer that. Is it 6 feet 6 inches or not?
To his body worn camera, yes. There's a thickness to his body,
Okay.
so I just measure things.
Okay. So let's go back to your chart. I believe 45 is where you talked about the dimensions you took for all the actors involved at this point.
You want me to go to 45?
If you need to, but you recall showing this jury that chart, you took heights, etc.
Yes.
Okay? Did you measure depth between chest and back of any of the actors?
We didn't measure it, but we could match it the best we could to size them so that they match what we see in the
Okay.
body
What
worn
is
camera.
the size dimensions for Sergeant Flores?
What do you mean by size?
You said that the distance to his back would be less than 6 feet 6 inches. I'm asking you if you can quantify how much less.
No, I can't tell you the exact number now.
Okay, so then there's nothing to support the question and or elicited testimony. Feet 6 inches, is there, sir?
Well,
It's a yes or no answer.
there is.
Where is it? Is it documented in your presentation?
No, it's just the
So-
fact that there's a thickness to his body.
Okay, but it's unknown, it's undefined, isn't it?
It's defined visually because we can see that there's a thickness to the body. So
Okay, but you cannot be precise. Is there an error rate in visual observation, sir?
sure,
Okay, so again, the error is undefined, correct?
I'd say so.
And you're a man of science, aren't you?
Yes.
If it's undefined, you can't rely on it, can you? It's a yes or no answer.
I wouldn't say you can't rely on it. You can make an approximation.
Okay. Could you go back to you recall the number of for the chart that represents Officer Alejandro? Is that chart 70? His vantage point?
From his POV, is that what you're
Yes,
asking?
sir.
No, it is.
I think it's 70.
No, it's 77. Do you want me to bring it up?
I said Officer Alejandro.
Oh, thought I heard Villalobos. Yes, it's 70.
Um, okay, and again, we started this line of question. I'd asked if there were any calculations as to where Ms. Perez was at this point in time. And is that better seen on that gave us a time of 2:02:06. And again, you said you did not calculate her distance from the wall or window at this point, did you, sir?
So it's been calculated. Just I don't have it in picture form. I haven't shown it, so I don't know if we've actually measured it specifically.
All right, I will take that as a no, you did not. So, have you done, in your work in this field, have you done studies on reaction time between, we've heard some testimony about when an officer can perceive a threat and the time it takes him to react, correct?
That's out of my scope.
So you can't, all right, so we can't measure that right now off of you.
I can look at frames and give frames to Dr.
Right.
Martin. Yeah.
But your testimony is, this is what Officer Alejandro saw, and we can, from the window, which you estimate to be 6.5 feet, minus whatever depth or width Sergeant Flores' body is, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me, even at that 6.5 feet, minus the depth or width of Sergeant Flores' body, she's still inside her home, correct?
Yes, just the hammer is on the window.
Yes, sir. Were you able to calculate the depth of that wall between the window that she's standing in front of and the doorway? I understand you can measure the width, but I'm talking could you go to the overhead, one of your overhead charts?
Sure.
Okay. I think this may be interactive. Okay, I've just drawn that circle here. You able to calculate the thickness, the depth of that wall?
We can measure that. Yes.
Did you measure it?
We measured it by building that wall to the dimension that's shown in the point cloud, the LiDAR.
And that, okay. And you'd agree with me that yes, the hammer hit the glass, but she is inside her apartment. You agree with that, correct?
I believe so, yes.
All right. I'm just curious, since you had pictures of the couch, was the couch always bent or curved the way it's depicted here?
Yes.
Okay. We now turn to, I believe, Sergeant Flores' point of view. I believe that is charts 73 and 74.
You said Sergeant Flores?
Yes, sir. I believe it should be your charts 73 and 74.
Did I go past it? Christian, I'm having trouble with getting.
Matt, Your Honor.
Yes.
I think I've lost that. Oh, you. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, and again, I understand, I'm looking at your charts, this should be chart 70. His comparative point of view is next at 71. And if you just keep cycling through to get to 73, it should be, thank you, Sergeant Flores' point of view. Now, at this point, where is the skeleton that represents Melissa Perez? Where is she standing?
You're asking why we don't see the skeleton?
No, sir. I said, and I called the figure that represents Melissa Perez. You said those were skeletons, correct?
Inside her, there's a skeleton. Yes.
All right, inside this figure.
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking you, at this point, can you identify where she is in the apartment?
Standing in the hall.
Okay? And you have measurements that support this point of view?
What does that mean?
How far away is she from the door?
Oh, we can look at that.
Okay, which chart shows that?
It's any of that'd be the second volley, which is
I think it's slide 58, frame 1472.
thank you. Yep.
Thank you, sir. Okay. And so from
Sorry.
but,
You had asked for the door, right?
yes, and particularly as it pertains to Sergeant Flores.
This is second volley. There you go.
To the door. 16.1 feet to the door
Yes.
inside on her side of the apartment, and it's a total of 20 to Sergeant Flores.
That's
correct?
I believe so. 20.7.
Okay. And then go back to, but his viewpoint, 73,
You have that number?
Slide 73.
slide 73.
72.
Chart 73, slide 73. I apologize. It's not my intent to confuse you. Okay. And so she is 16 feet on that diagonal depth in her apartment from here.
Yes.
Okay.
What you just asked, she's 16 feet from the door.
Yes, sir.
Correct, okay.
The inside of the door.
Yes.
And 20.7 feet from Sergeant Flores.
That's correct.
Okay. And if you could go ahead and play.
Play this?
Yes, sir. Okay. Door.
No, she doesn't.
Okay. And I forget the series that are the overhead view. You pulled the roof off the apartment. I'd like to see how close she actually gets to the door.
Slide 50.
Thank you. I'm actually thinking go to the series of charts where you start counting the volleys of the shots. Looking at the second volley where you are charting shots 6 through 16.
Series of shots. 55 maybe. Not this?
That's the first original. Go to the second representation of it. Let's see. Okay. Should be chart. Okay, that's going to the third volley. Then go to 58. That, I believe, shows your second volley. So she's, at this point, frame 1514. This is when shot number 6 is fired. In your chart, I approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
So I'm showing you what I've marked as State's Exhibit number 198 for identification.
Yes.
Is 198 for identification a true and accurate copy of the chart you've got, I forget where it is in your presentation, where it depicts each of the 16 rounds, traces them to a firer. You've identified them as the first volley, the second volley, and the third volley. This is a complete and accurate copy of
Yes.
your chart, okay? So we've paused here at shot number 6, the first round of the second volley of rounds. And who fired? And that was fired by Officer Alejandro.
Yes.
Okay. And is this in the distances? Proceed on to shot number 7. Distance for Officer Alejandro, 6 and 7 both say 10.6 feet. You recall that from the previous?
I don't think so.
Okay. So,
One
7 is 10.6. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You advance it to shot number 8, which you can trace to Sergeant Flores. And that distance for shot number 8 from Sergeant Flores is 9 feet.
Yes, sir. Would you advance it to shot number 9? That is fired, you attribute that to Officer Alejandro. Yes.
Represents the same distance from Sergeant Flores as in shot number 8. You recall that?
You want me to go back to 8?
Sure.
Okay, that must be forgot to change that number.
Is that an unreflected
Actually,
error in your
no.
calculations?
No, sorry. He's moved back.
So he was able to move back.
He's moved back, yes.
Okay. But the distance remains the same.
Because Ms. Perez is moving forward.
I understand. Just a moment, Your Honor.
Okay? Anybody require a lunch yet? All right. This is a good time to break. 1 o'clock, come back in an hour, make it 2 o'clock.
All rise for the jury.